brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. And council, do we have anything to report this evening? I have a couple. Sure, please.
I'll try to be brief. So earlier this month, as many of you know and many of you attended, was the Verde Valley Fair. I was going to update on it earlier, but didn't have updated numbers from the auction. And just wanted to say thank you to the fair director, Colleen Gilboy, the fair board, and all of the staff and volunteers for a tremendous fair this year. The final tally is that the FFA auction raised almost $800,000 this year. That's almost double the amount that was raised in past years. So this is a community that comes out and supports our FFA kids, and I do want to thank our local businesses for their support and really coming out this year in a big way. But I did have kind of a side note to that. On Friday night, I volunteered in the parking lot as a parking lot attendant as part of a fundraiser for the Mingus girls basketball team, and was disappointed in some of the drivers' aggressive, rude, and inappropriate behavior toward our high school girls. I understand that folks are in a hurry and want to get inside and enjoy the fair, but speaking and acting inappropriately toward our high school kids who are out trying to park folks in an orderly manner is not appropriate, and I sincerely hope that drivers will be more courteous next year and in the years to come. Another item, Mr. Corbett and I attended a roundtable with representatives from neighboring communities to discuss infrastructure priorities and federal grant opportunities that might be available. He and I discussed some of Cottonwood's priorities, not all, but those include water, wastewater, road improvement projects, transportation, etc. For me, though, the most invaluable part of that meeting was being able to dialogue one-on-one with some of the representatives of the neighboring communities. For example, being able to continue the dialogue with the Prescott mayor on airport noise. He is actively involved in the flight training operations, looking for solutions, and although he assured me that it's not going to happen overnight, it is something that he and the council are actively involved in, and it's not just lip service to the noise concerns from our community. Lastly,
yes, go ahead.
The American Legion is hosting a fundraiser over Memorial Day. They had 2 folks that were injured in an accident, pretty significantly injured, and they are a 501c3, so your donations may be, you may receive a tax credit or whatever, they may qualify for the tax deduction, not a credit, pardon me for misspeaking, but you can reach out directly to the Legion for more information. I do have a flyer if anyone else wants. You can also message me offline. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other council members? No? Yes, Ms.
Friday night was the employee party recognition. Well done. It was fun. It was light. And thanks to everybody that did a great job setting it up. It was fun.
Right. Just quickly, last week, Ron and I were able to get out to Prescott, actually right near the airport. The Arizona Association of Economic Development invited me to attend a panel discussion with other area mayors from Yavapai County. So Prescott was there, Prescott Valley Mayor was there. From the Verde, we had Clarkdale Mayor Prudhomme Bauer and Mayor Jenkins from Camp Verde. So good discussion, and we all got to highlight what's going on in our community. And compared to the others, we're doing really great. We're doing great. So, and that's all I've got. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Couple updates. Reminder that Manzanita Outreach is doing a meal packing event on June 25th for their outreach meal packing for Ukraine. So originally you had to pay to be a part of this so that they could buy the food. We were notified this week that they have reached their numbers for dollars, and so you can now sign up without having to contribute any money. So they're still looking for volunteers. Please, the registration deadline is May 31st, and reach out to Manzanita Outreach to sign up for that. And then I attended on Saturday a Fallen Heroes golf tournament fundraiser. Again, another example of our community doing great things. They raised almost $20,000 for their program. So I believe there were over 30 teams, 8 teams on the wait list. The event just gets bigger and better every year, but it was a great event to raise some money for that nonprofit. National Police Week is 2022 is this week in the United States. It began on Sunday, May 15th, and ends on Saturday, May 21st. A big thank you to our police officers for all they do for our community. The community is invited to join the Parks and Recreation Department in celebrating Kids to Park Day. Join us at the Cottonwoods Kid Park on Saturday, May 21st from 11 to 2 for crafts, sports, games, and fun for the entire family. Join us tomorrow, May 18th from 5 p.m. until dark for the Old Town Music and the Market. Tomorrow's market will feature live music from local duo Him and Me. Be sure to follow the market, and that's not me. I don't play an instrument or sing, but that's the name of the band, Him and Me. Be sure to follow the market on Facebook or visit oldtownmusicandthemarket.org for updates. If you are a local band who would like to perform or looking to have your own vendor space at the market, please contact Jessica Chacon at 928-639-3200, extension 3215. Join the Environmental Education Center for their next Science Saturday event on May 28th from 12 to 2 p.m. at the Verde Valley Discovery Center. Enjoy the Verde Valley Native Pollinator Garden Celebration to learn about pollinators. I'm assuming those are mostly bees, but show up to learn, and their importance to the environment. Visit vnrcdeec.org for more information. The Old Town Center for the Arts will be having their final performance of the season this weekend. Enjoy the Blues Dog Reunion Concert on Friday, May 20th, and the Bob Dylan Birthday Concert on Saturday, May 21st. Visit theoldtowncenter.org to purchase tickets in advance or for more information. And finally, the Greater Chamber of Commerce invites you to their May Mixer hosted by the Moose Lodge in Clarkdale. Come participate in a fun network opportunity with food, refreshments, and a raffle. The mixer is scheduled for Thursday, May 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. Register online at cottonwoodchamberaz.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
All right, thank you. Lots going on. Okay, let's move on then to call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion, and or actions and comments are limited to a 3-minute time period. And there are forms in the back, and anyone is more than welcome to address the council. I just want to give a quick update on the call to the public. We did meet as a council, thank you, and discuss this issue. And so moving forward, we're going to change up the way we do our call to the public a little bit. It's still going to be at the front of the meeting because we all feel it's important to get the members of the public up as quickly as possible to address the council. However, we're going to ask that you, when filling out the form, state the subject matter of what you wish to speak about, and anything that is beyond our purview or our legal ability to regulate or enforce or address. We're not going to listen to those comments. We're going to try to work to direct you towards people who can help you and who you should address. So as an example, there's a pothole in your neighborhood and you live in the city of Cottonwood, we want to hear all about it. If you live in the county or you want to complain about the I-17 corridor or anything that's really outside of our jurisdiction, we're going to direct you as best we can, if there's time available before the meeting for me to screen these forms. We'll direct you to the folks who can assist you. Okay? So, without further ado, we have Ms. O'Daniel, and if we could get someone to help her with the microphone, I'd appreciate it.
Mayor Alinsky and City Councilors, May 15 through May 21 is National Police Week. Local police departments across America are being recognized and honored for their unselfish service to their communities and for the fallen heroes among them. These local police departments are part of their communities, are accountable to them, and are paid for locally by the community. Also, the county sheriff is elected by the community. This local organizational structure of police, unique in our country, is the key to why our police officers are a welcome part of the community and not a federal armed police force to be feared. Constitutionally, their powers derive from the 10th Amendment, which states, quote, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The citizens of Cottonwood are blessed to have a highly trained and honorable local police force under the very capable leadership of Police Chief Stephen Cassell. To all of you, we say thank you for your 24/7, 7-day-a-week service to protect our community. While we sleep, you are awake, keeping us safe. You are worthy of our praise and our prayers. Please be assured that you have both. Unfortunately, there has been a two-pronged attack on local police for many decades in America. For instance, the number of ambush-style attacks on law enforcement skyrocketed in 2021. Data show that 83 officers were shot in 67 separate ambush-style attacks between January 1 and August 31 of last year, according to the National Fraternal Order of Police. Also, for many years, there has been a dangerous trend to nationalize police, beginning with federal funding and training, which results in increased federal oversight and control. These are counterproductive to American freedoms. Because you have the oversight of our local police, it is imperative that you understand the importance of and rationale for local police. Please read the booklet titled Support Your Local Police and the pamphlet titled Who Are Your Local Police, which explains these concepts very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniel. And we have two other forms that were filled out from, I believe, Ms. Peebler and Ms. Blair. It's for an item which is on the agenda, so I'll call you up when that item comes up. All right, with that, I'll close the floor and we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 3rd, 2022, and the special meeting of May 11th, 2022. And I'll motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Okay, Mary made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, they're approved. The consent agenda is next, and the following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Two items tonight. First up, 2022 Title VI Implementation Plan for Cottonwood Area Transit. And second item is request for authorization to submit an application to the Arizona State Historic Preservation Office for Historic Preservation Pass-Through Matching Grant. Is there an item that a council member or a citizen would like to have pulled? No? All right, I'll motion then to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Wilden seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's approved. New business. Following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. First up is request from Merkin Vineyards at Old Town Cottonwood for an extension of time to complete the conditions for the rezoning of a combined parcel of land located at 760 and 770 North Verde Heights Drive and 75 and 203 West Pima Street, Yavapai County Assessor's Parcel Number 40632-023D, as required under Ordinance Number 627. Evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you. Scott Ellis, Community Development Director. Completion timeline from their original approval. It's this large parcel here going up Verde Heights Drive, kind of right behind the building here. I'm sure everybody's noticed the ongoing construction for a little while now. We're definitely making some progress. The owner is Galileo 33 Holdings. It is one parcel now. They were combined. There was two when it originally came through to you. Approximately 7 acres. The zone change was to PAD in 2017. At that time, there was a 2-year development stipulation with that approval. There was an extension granted in 2019. Part of that also needed them to go to Planning and Zoning Commission for design review. That did happen in 2019 as well, so that has taken place. The project consists of a vineyard, winery, restaurant, and a pocket park. They are hoping to have the winery open and operational by summer of 2023. 2022, not open to the public, but so that they can get their production going internally. Sidewalk and landscaping along Verde Heights by August of 2022. And again, 2019, P&Z and Council granted the extension, which is set to expire in June of this year. Obviously, they're not going to get it finished by that deadline, so that's why we're here tonight. So to keep that PAD zoning, they need that extension requested. They did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission back in April. They recommended to council that that extension be granted to December 31st of 2023. This is the site plan that did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for design review approval, showing the various parts of the project. Over here is the winery, or wineries over this way. Restaurants here, park down here. We have a lift system up here to get people in between. Parking over here. There will be a sidewalk down Verde Heights along this side, going the length of that property there. Some of the elevations showing what it's going to look like. This is just kind of a FYI, so you know what the end result compared to what it looks like today when they do get it finished. More of the elevations. And again, some more elevations. That's all I have for that. I do want to mention that at the Planning and Zoning Commission, we did have a couple local neighboring residents come provide support for the project, but some concerns with traffic going through Verde Heights and sidewalks and those various things. There is a representative of the project here tonight if you have any questions for them, or I can answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Ellis? Go ahead.
I did, and you actually just touched on it. So, because it was my understanding, we had discussed the traffic and the sidewalk as part of our discussions as council. So, have those concerns been appropriately addressed by the existing plans, or are they being addressed?
Yes, ma'am, they are. That is part of why the sidewalk is going to be done sooner, not at the end of the project, but within a few months of now. The original requirement was for phase 1 to have that sidewalk in there. There was a few adjustments made. They're not quite starting on phase 2 yet, or maybe, did you get started on phase 2, Rennie? They will be starting on phase 2. So sidewalk is that ending part of phase 1. Should be done by August.
So the sidewalk is going to be installed before they open to the public, long before they open to the public?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, that's just fine, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, council, for staff at this point? Okay, let's go ahead and call it Mr. Verdocia then to give a brief presentation, if you please. Thank you.
Very brief. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Reynold Verdocia, and I have the architectural firm Architecture Works Green, Inc., and we are the architects for the project. So we've been working on this for many years, actually, now. And just to clarify the sidewalk, the construction on the sidewalk should start in about 2.5 weeks and take about 4 weeks to complete. And once we do complete the sidewalk, the landscaping along Pima and Verde Heights will be installed. So that will happen before the C of O is issued by the city for stage 1 or phase 1. And just to clarify what Scott said, the winery, is actually just a production facility. It's never been intended to be open to the public. And the completion date is August 1st at this moment, and that we're hoping we'll get the C of O for that building, and Maynard does want to install equipment and start grape and wine production in that facility. His intention is to not abandon, but sell the winery in Camp Verde, and all the production of Merkin Vineyards and Caduceus wines will happen here on site in Cottonwood. As far as stage 2, we will be starting the restaurant. Our hope was sometime in June. We did apply for a permit extension, and that was granted by Cody Blazer just a few weeks ago for the building permit for stage 2. And you have to understand what's happened here, just like to anybody else in this business now. Supply chain, COVID has pushed everything back so far. It's actually pushed this project back over 2 years. So we needed a permit extension for stage 2, which was the restaurant Pocket Park, as Scott mentioned. We've been granted that. We're hoping to start construction, like I just said, the beginning of June. The project is out to bid. It's publicly out to bid now, and the bids will be back the end of May. And the owners will then decide on the pricing for stage 2 and move forward with it. We are hoping to be done, 100% done with the whole project in the fall of 2023. We've asked for an extension to December 31st of 2023 with some of Scott's assistance there, and we hope to be done prior to that. Open to the public. The incline lift has been ordered. I can tell you that. It's about a 6-month production for the incline lift. It's coming out of Minnesota. And that will be both the lift that goes from the Pocket Park up to the restaurant. And that lift is ADA compliant, and it'll hold 5 people. And it operates like an elevator. No operator per se. You go into the lift, you press the button, it goes up. You press the button, it goes down. And so there's no human operator with the lift. The restaurant is the next thing that we're going to be tackling, and again, I say that we're hoping to start that in June. The walls that you see up there from the Masonic Lodge will remain in place. We're going to be cutting a few holes in those walls, but Maynard really wanted that semi-historic building to be incorporated into the restaurant. In fact, the plaque that was on that building we've taken off when we demolished the building, and he has it up in Jerome that will be reinstalled on the new restaurant to commemorate the Masonic Lodge. We also found a time capsule. I'm not going to tell you what was in it, but
well, that's not fair.
Yeah, just a little tease, but anyway, the project has had a slow start, as everyone has been aware. The grading has been extreme, and all the infrastructure has been more than your average project. There is piping from the winery that goes to the cellar underground so that he can transfer juice from the winery to the cellar to the barrels and back and forth. All that'll be done underground with a pump system. The parking lot, as you may know, is going to be permeable paved with a product called True Grid, and when we were in here for design review, I had a sample of that. So the parking lot's for about 75 cars, and the paving is permeable. So it helped us with detention for the project. So we have just very few detention basins up there, but the parking lot itself is a detention basin. And just to be clear on the slopes that you see, the 2-to-1 slopes that have not been terraced with rubble rock. So along Verde Heights, for example, all of that soil will be stabilized with a seed called Sudan grass, and it's a fast-growing. It's actually an annual grass, but it does have to be mowed. Its root system is deep. It's very favorable in terms of water use. And once the vines are planted, which they have started, you'll see along Verde Heights now, we will be hydroseeding that slope with Sudan grass. And that will have to be mowed and maintained over the life of the vineyard. But it is, instead of a rock terracing that we've done on about 5 of the acres there, Maynard wanted that to be a simpler solution, a little bit less expensive. Mm-hmm. So that kind of gives you a summary of where we're at. The pocket park, just to be clear with you on the pocket park, we made some changes. It was in the letter of intent. And the one retail container, storage container, now is going to be a gelato production facility with gelato sales. So there's not going to be T-shirts or any other retail type products in that building at the Pocket Park, but gelato sales there. So that kind of wraps it up, and I thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, any questions for the architect? No? Mr. Ellis, I had just one question about the log jam situation where Verde Heights comes down into Pima, there where the beauty salon is and all that. It creates it's kind of a cluster there. What's the plan to address that?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I don't have what that plan is. I don't know if anything's going to change. Okay. We can find out from the engineer in Public Works what that might look like. My guess, if anything, maybe a stop sign instead of a yield sign coming through there.
I know nothing is complete there yet, but it seems like something, maybe no parking on one side of the street or something needs done to correct that situation.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add, we'll take a look at that. James has looked at that and counted the numbers, and it hasn't warranted any change to that area based on the data. Mm-hmm. But we'll continue to evaluate that, and especially after it opens, we'll take another look.
Yeah. Be a lot of people wanting to ride that gondola. So, all right, so let's, we have a couple of comments, folks who would like to comment. So let's call them up then, if you please, Council. Let's get Kathleen Peebler up. And I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly.
That's fine. Thank you. My name's Kathleen Peebler, and I live on Mesquite Street, which is opposite the driveway into Merkin Vineyard. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thanks for highlighting the sidewalk. It's probably our #1 priority. And thanks for mentioning the cluster down here. That's really, my comments are on the record from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So what I really wanted to get on the record with the council is the traffic, with a couple of suggestions. One is, I do think an immediate not parking on the grill side of Pima would be incredibly helpful. When people park along there, it worsens that intersection right there. The other is, there is an old sign at the bypass and Verde Heights that points to Old Town down Verde Heights Road. It would be really nice to remove that signage. The other is, if there is signage that can be done to encourage people to come down Mingus to Willard, and then 3-way stop here at the bottom of Willard, I think it would help a lot of the residents in the area going to the hospital, the post office, you know, all of those things, so we don't always have to go back and around. We're going to come up with an issue, another comment's going to be made about extending the sidewalk. That's not for Merkin. So the request is that the city look at extending the sidewalk from the Merkin, you know, terminus there to the existing sidewalk at the top of the hill. And then the other is just traffic mitigation, you know, whether it's slow, blind curves, people just cruise up the hill, they turn that corner, they cruise down the hill. And in the morning we have a sunlight issue. So, you know, just that drive like your children, grandparents live here, kind of concept. It doesn't make sense to encourage people to drive to a commercial area through a residential neighborhood. And I know you guys have Gracetta Ranch Road on later, and I don't know what the thoughts are there, but please look at the same kinds of concepts so that if you can either, if that's a wider street or makes more sense, but really diverting traffic down the commercial corridor, I think, is the best solution for the residential neighborhoods. And I think there's some signage that could help that. Those are my main things. One thing, since architect is here, I made a request for please no Italian cypress. They're a view blocker. And they attract rats and other things. But since you're here, I'd like to make that comment directly. I know those were on the original landscape plans. And I think that's it for mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. All right, and then next we have Maggie Blair, I believe. Unless it's Blaine, I'm sorry. Blair, okay, I got it right.
I live at the top of the hill at 632 Verde Heights Drive, and I would like to thank Merkin for getting onto the sidewalk right away. It's really necessary. We have a lot of pedestrians going up and down there, and it's not safe right now, and I hope that they can make it safe all the way to the top of the hill. And I would also like to second the need to reroute traffic to the winery, not through our residential neighborhood. In spite of all of that, it is becoming more and more trafficked, and I'm having a really hard time to back out of my driveway when people come up around that corner fast. They're right on me, and it's risky, and I know that's going to increase when the winery is open. So I would suggest maybe a blind drive sign or something to slow people down or let them know when they take that sharp turn up there that some of us need to get out of our driveways. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blair. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add, Commander Dow let me know that we are actually already in the process of installing a speed sign, one of those radar signs on Verde Heights Drive. So that should help, and you should see that installed soon.
Great. Good. Okay, so council, we have a discussion to have regarding whether or not we want to extend the timeline for this project.
I see no reason why we shouldn't.
Any other, I agree. Any other discussion? No? All right, do I hear a motion?
I had a question on the motion because there were comments about removing 4 because they've already complied with it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Henry, stipulation 4 was that requirement to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for design review, which, as I mentioned, they did in 2019 and received that approval. So that stipulation is kind of irrelevant now.
So I'd go ahead and move to extend the deadline for completion of the remaining stipulations listed in rezoning ordinance 627 until December 31st, 2023.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Henry made the motion. We had Councilmember Wilden second that. Let's get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry.
Yes.
Councilmember Holst.
Yes.
Councilmember Carrat.
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Naren.
Yes.
And Mayor Alinsky.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion passes. Let's, nothing else to do there. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Yep. Okay, item 2 is proposed exchange of 2 small city-owned tracts of land for a public utility and pedestrian easement between 14th Street and Riverfront Park. Evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Gary Davis with Community Development. We have an opportunity to pick up a trail connection between a neighborhood and the Riverfront Park. And just wanted you to be aware of it and put it in front of you to see if we're going in the right direction on this. It involves an exchange of properties, so I'll kind of walk through it here. The property in blue, this big triangular piece, that's a 1-acre property that's on the north end of 14th Street, just past Navajo Street. It's at the north end of the cemetery, and it is along the ditch, which goes along the north side of that property. And to the north of the ditch is Riverfront Park. This is the entrance to the playground area right here. So that's how close it is. The property owner has been talking with the city for a while about possibly getting a piece of property transferred. A previous property owner on this property had built a fence kind of across the north 30 feet of the cemetery property. City's property goes like that. About 4,900 square feet's been fenced off and used by this property historically. And there's another property to the west of that that is also owned by the city. It's on the other side of the Cottonwood ditch. City has no access to it. City really has no use for it. And there may be places where buildings have been encroaching on that area. So it's been proposed that those two small parcels be transferred to the property owner in exchange for a utility easement and pedestrian easement that would be an extension of the line of 14th Street, just for pedestrians. And it would connect the neighborhood to the park. We had been discussing possibly making that connection around the end of the property without going through the middle, because obviously it was one piece of property. That creates some issues with the trail going in the back of a number of properties here and then going along the ditch. Visibility isn't very good. If the trail is a direct extension of 14th Street, there's a lot of visibility straight down the trail, and a bridge would be necessary across the ditch. There's a little roadway that's already existing right here that could be connected in very easily. The property owner is considering a rezone to the R3 zone, which would allow this to be split into 3 parcels, 2 over here and 1 over here, for additional housing. That if that rezone were approved, then this lot split into 3 could be done through a minor land division process, which is an administrative process that would just go through staff. As part of that process, this utility easement and pedestrian easement could be dedicated as a part of that plat. And that would be right next to an existing drainage easement we already have just to the west of that. So the idea is for the applicant to proceed with the rezoning application, and if that's approved, we could do the minor land division and come up with an agreement to transfer these properties to this property owner and have the city have the rights to the pedestrian easement. These properties have been appraised. Approximate value is, I think, $34,000 for the whole, for both of them. This utility easement's been appraised for about $7,000, I believe, but there would be a lot of value to having this connection to the neighborhood. And let me show you a bigger picture of what connection this would provide. This is the Riverfront Park area. You see 10th Street here. The trail we just completed about a year ago, the Riverfront Park Loop. Right now, it ends at 10th Street. We are planning to start design on the extension of that in this next fiscal year. That would extend past the treatment facility and extend up to connect with the playground as well. There are connections that can be made off of that, and one of those connections is this location, and here's the location of the easement we're talking about right here. So that means that people in this neighborhood, if they want to access the playground, they could have a fairly direct access. As of right now, they would have to go down 14th to Main to 10th. So we think it's a valuable asset possibly to that neighborhood. So that's about the situation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you've got.
Great questions from Mr. Davis.
The 4,900 square feet at the north end of the cemetery, does the cemetery, do we need that? Are we ever going to use that?
Councilmember Wilden, Mayor, it's been fenced off. We're not using it. I don't believe there are any plans, have been any plans to use that. These are both properties that, as far as we know, the city really doesn't have a whole lot of use for.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Wilden, if I can add, The cemetery's full. We've sold all the lots. So if we were looking to expand, we could, but there's a building there and a fence there. It would be, and it wasn't by this owner, it was the previous owner who did this. I don't know how long ago, but a long time ago. So we would have to probably go into litigation. We'd probably have to force our hand to have that property removed to make it usable. So I don't want to say we couldn't use it because we could always use more space at the cemetery, but the value, the effort wouldn't pay off. There would be no return on investment to make that happen. So staff feels very comfortable giving that land in exchange for the easement is better for the community.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I just had questions. I am struggling with the gift of public funds analysis that you outlined in the staff memo. And I was wondering if you could give additional insight as far as the total value to the city, because we've got a cost of approximately $34,000, not including the appraisal cost. I'm assuming the property owner is not paying, or the other parties not paying for that cost. We have a value of approximately $7,000 for the appraised value, but then we had two factors that are fuzzy. The substantial savings in the water line from the reclaimed water line, and then the value to the pedestrian path. So do you have any additional information as far as anticipated usage of the path and the value of this substantial water savings?
Councilmember Henry, Mr. Mayor, in addition to the kind of unestimable cost of the connection to the park, we had talked about running a water line in that utilities easement from the Riverfront reclamation facility. To the extent that that is or is not being used, that may not be quite the substantial issue financially that it was before. As far as other questions on the gift clause, I would defer to our attorney here.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Henry, before I turn it over to our city attorney, remember that we're also deferring the cost of building the trail around the other edges. Without the easement, we would have to go around the triangle, and that would add a significant amount of cost. And we also believe a safety issue going through the alley, unlighted, and those kinds of things. So we don't have a cost for that differential, but there is that cost. And as Mr. Davis was explaining, I just want to be transparent. The plan was to run the reclaimed water line that way. Given the uncertainty of the Riverfront treatment facility at this time, we don't know that we would do that. We still want the easement for future, just in case. This is the time to make it happen. As a city manager, I don't have a number to place on the value of connecting that neighborhood to the park, but I think that is a significant community value, giving access to this isolated area, access to the playground and the trail system and that parks. But I don't have a number for you, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Horton.
Well, and that, Mr. Mayor and Council, that's a great lead-in, because it really is yours to determine that value. If this was an exchange of land for the exchange sake, then we'd have to look at those appraised values and be more concerned than I am about the difference in value. But you are entitled, because this is not just an exchange of real estate, there's a public use for the property, and because this is not in the economic development context where the court has really sort of clamped down on differential exchanges, it is your prerogative to place a value on what you're getting by way of the pedestrian connectivity.
Okay. So to further that question, the worst case scenario is if we were challenged in any way, how protected are we from any gift clause violations?
I think it's very defensible, because so, for example, there was a case a long time ago, one I hearken back to in situations like this, where a city gave land to a private party to build a hospital, just gave the land. And the court said the public benefit of building a hospital was worth giving the land away. Here, you are exchanging land that has more value than the land you're getting, but there's a benefit you're getting that you're able to put this land to, and it is within your authority to place a value on that.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does. I don't know if the rest of council's interested in asking for reimbursement for the appraisal cost. That's a significant number and might help balance the amounts if that's just a thought, but if not, I don't know that it should be a deal breaker.
Okay.
Just a thought too on, as we're looking at appraised value on something like this, it's just an administrative matter, trying to put a dollar value on those. Really, those things, in any real estate, real sense, have no value to anybody except perhaps that property owner, because they've kind of encroached on there. But like you said, there's also a value in not fighting to get them back when there's no real value for the city. So, I mean, I think it's, as far as that goes, it's a pretty good trade. We shed something we don't really need or want, and we get something we can use. So.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
Well, I think the idea of having that trail going in from 14th Street into Riverfront Park is a good idea. It completes or helps to complete the trail system that we've been trying to develop around Riverfront Park for 15 years. And it just makes it a nice, clean connection and allows more activity for the park and more people to experience the park's benefit. So I'm in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask Mr. Davis to clarify, just so council's fully aware that we're not going to put this trail in tomorrow. This requires a bridge, right? And an agreement with the Ditch Association. So there is a ditch that we have to overcome and work through. Is that correct, Mr. Davis?
That's correct. There would be a bridge located right there. And it's correct. It wouldn't happen immediately upon recordation of this minor land division if the rezone is approved. So it would take, it would be like any other trail. We'd put it in the budget and get it in as soon as we can, and work with the Ditch Association to come up with a agreement to get it across. But as we say, that's a nice direct route doing that, and it's only about 120 feet of trail up to get to the ditch, and beyond that, it's, like I said, pretty easy to convert that road into a trail. So kind of low-hanging fruit as far as the trail system goes.
Okay. Other thoughts, comments from council?
I'll just say that I agree with what's been said so far, and I would be in favor of this exchange.
Okay. Councilmember Carrot?
If we could get them to contribute to the appraisal fee, that'd be awesome, but it makes sense to do this.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Councilmember Wilden, I think. Have you spoken yet? You have? Okay. Imagine that. All right. Well, I'm in favor as well, and I don't have too much heartburn over the differential in the value, the hard numbers of the parcels appraised, because I do see a bigger, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for context, it's about the price of a Camry.
Okay.
Not no more.
Down, yeah.
I
you
see
can
great.
get it.
What's that?
If you can get it.
If you can get it, yeah, you might have to wait for it. No, good public benefit. This is right along the arterial corridor of the Arts, Culture, and Entertainment District. This trail would service a neighborhood where there are children. We want to be that vibrant, walkable community, and I think this is a great way to provide for that, and to have those kiddos in that neighborhood be able to just easily cross over and get into the playground without having to get onto the busy Main Street corridor and go around that way, I think would be tremendous. Yeah, I see a great benefit to it. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. All right, so we're ready for a vote.
No, we're not action.
We're only, oh, really? Okay.
We'll bring this back. Remember, Mr. Mayor, this, the landowner did not want to move forward because she will have to
Okay.
pay some
Okay.
costs
Okay.
if council wasn't even interested in this exchange.
Okay, got it. All right. I'm glad somebody else is paying attention. So. All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you. All right, then next we have interview of Planning and Zoning Commission applicants. Ms. Wilbur, take it away.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Amanda Wilbur, HR Director. We currently have 2 seats on the Planning and Zoning Commission available, one due to a resignation and one due to a term expiration. We only had 2 applicants for the 2 seats, and we did not go through the blind review process because of that. But I understand at the last work session, council would like to get back to interviewing all of our applicants for all of our boards and commissions. So tonight we have one of our 2 applicants here to interview with you for the Planning and Zoning Commission seat. That is Randy Stevens. Our other applicant, Elizabeth Marks, let me know this afternoon that she had an emergency come up and she wasn't going to be able to make it like she had originally planned. So I'll bring that back at a future council meeting. But for now, Randy Stevens is here to interview with you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Stevens, if you wouldn't mind coming on up, appreciate you being here this evening.
Good morning, Mr. Evening. I'm lost in the week,
It's okay.
Mr. Mayor and Council.
I'm with you on that one. All right, so we have a few questions for you, and then we're going to ask maybe some more specific questions about your application. But if you don't mind, we're just going to take it away. Okay? Why do you want to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I want to serve the community is my first interest. I have interest in planning and land use, learning opportunity, and a voice in the decision-making process.
Okay. And then what specific development experience do you have that qualifies you to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I have a dual bachelor's, and one of them is in historic preservation and community planning, so I'd like to bridge the two, the historic portion of it, because I'm on the Historic Preservation Commission, and then use my community planning background.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what do you hope to accomplish as a commissioner?
To make a difference in the community. The biggest one is understanding what's going on, caring about the community, preserving the past, especially Old Town with all the development that's going on, and making sure that Cottonwood still has the history intact.
Excellent. Okay. And then, Council, do we have any additional questions for the applicant based on their application? I had one. I know you serve on the Historic Preservation Commission, because I served with you on that for some time. But how do you think you'll balance your role as a commissioner and as a Historic Preservation Commissioner?
I look at it as, for instance, planning and zoning. For instance, you see a sign that's out there and you're kind of like, ooh, that sign's pretty ugly. The historic preservation side would be like, well, it's been here for 100 years, so although it's ugly, maybe we can come to some sort of agreement with let's keep it, build around it, make it look nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else, Council?
Just one. Do you feel you can be really open to all situations on the council, P&Z?
My other side is human resources, so you have to be.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I want to thank you for your application. Thanks for continuing to apply for these commissions. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. All right, so we will not make our decision tonight. We're going to go ahead and interview the other applicant, and at a future date, we'll make a decision on the appointment. I would say just hang it. We'll collect them at the end, I think. It'll be fine. Yeah. All right. Next up is direction regarding the recruitment process for the city attorney position.
Hello again. As council is aware, our current city attorney, Steve Horton, has let us know, unfortunately, that he will be leaving us next year in sometime in the first quarter of 2023, probably around February sometime. So tonight we are here to get some direction from council on what you would like to see in the recruitment process as the city attorney reports directly to you. So I've prepared some documents for you to take a look at as a starting point, but as you know, this position does report to you, so you can change things however you want them to be. I just need some direction from you all on what you want to see. So if you're okay with it, I would like to just go through our documents one at a time. Okay. Feel free to give me any feedback if you'd prefer something different. So first, we have our job description. Myself, Ron, and Steve all took a look at this and made some edits. So This is not the same job description that we had 10 years ago or 13 years ago whenever Steve first became an official city employee. We tried to incorporate everything that we would need out of a new attorney, but there's always room for improvement. Does council have any desire to change any portion of the job description so far?
I thought it looked very thorough. Yeah, I didn't have any. Well, physical requirements. You know, it says it's a sedentary nature, but there have been some meetings. We're having, you know, like somebody skilled in martial arts might have come in handy.
Right.
But
maybe we should make that a desirable qualification.
no, I really, in seriousness, I thought it was extremely thorough, as I would expect. Yeah.
Okay. So the next document I have prepared for you has a couple different things on it. First, it has a recruitment timeline. So I took the end date of when Steve thinks he's going to be leaving and kind of worked backwards from there. So the idea is to initially post the position July 5th and have it open for 2 months. Then, shortly after that, we would look at reviewing applications, then go into the actual process that council is more involved in. So we would look at getting a writing sample from applicants, as our attorney does quite a bit of writing for us. We would like to know what their skills are in that area. Then towards the end of September, we would get packets ready for a narrowed down group of applicants for council to review, and then set up the actual review process for council. So council could take the narrowed down number of applicants and tell staff who they would like to actually bring in for an in-person interview. Then we would be looking at early December for an in-person interview process. And the new council would vote on who they would want to offer the position to. Then hopefully the new city attorney would begin at the beginning part of February and have some overlap with Steve. Although that is one of the questions for council, is how much overlap you would like. So let's start with the timeline. Does council have any concerns with the timeline? Would you like to see anything extra implemented?
Yeah.
Sure.
So the only thing issue I see with the timeline is between the time that this starts and ends, 2 of us are going to be gone, and you'll have 2 new people on. So I would suggest, and as I've seen in the past, as soon as those other 2 council members are locked in, essentially, that they be brought into the process as soon as possible. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. We have done that in the past. Yeah, for sure. Any other suggestions on the timeline? No?
Okay. The next section here is a brief summary of some of the posting locations that we could have. We always post all of our positions, including this one, at the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. That's a free posting for us. The city, ever since we recruited for the city manager position, we've subscribed to Engaging Local Government Leaders, which is ELGL, and we post there as part of our membership. The Arizona State Bar Career Center would be a prime location for this position as well. That is not free, but it's still a nominal fee, I think, for what you get, and I think it's necessary for this position. And then I would probably also recommend we look at posting at the Federal Bar Association as well. There are several states that you can fairly easily get your Arizona bar license. I don't know if that's the right term, but with reciprocity or an easier process. So we might pick up some qualified applications or applicants from that method as well. And then we would also look at sending an email blast out to all of our partner municipalities, not just in the Verde Valley, but I would say statewide. Even if it's not someone themselves that wants to apply, they might know someone that they could refer. So in addition, there's a few others that we could look at as well with other neighboring states. If you wanted to be more extensive, we could also start with what we've talked about so far and kind of gauge how many applications we've gotten, and then post in additional locations partway through the posting as well. Is there anywhere that council really wants to make sure we post, or do you have any feedback on posting locations?
I kind of feel like we should, I know down here, Colorado Bar Association and Texas Bar Association, you said we'd post only if needed to widen the pool, but I guess I'm just a little bit concerned that we might have an issue recruiting enough folks for this position with the economy doing what it's doing, and just sort of the lack of general skilled folks to apply for positions that are open. It seems like there's more work than folks available to do the work. So if we could cast a wider net earlier on, I think it might be better. But I'm up to whatever council thinks on this one. Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to defer to somebody else.
I can tell you that recruiting for every position, and the more specialized as this is, I highly recommend aggressive advertisement. So I think this position is going to be very hard to fill.
There have been several other cities and towns that are looking for city attorneys right now, and they've had to post multiple times. So I agree. I think it's going to be very difficult to find someone, especially someone who lives up to our expectations like Steve.
But this is a really great job. And there is, now that I look at this list again, there's IMLA, which is the analog for the City Management Association, but it's a national, and it has Canadian members, so they call it international. But that would be a good place.
IMLA?
IMLA, International Municipal Law Association.
Okay.
You could always poach somebody from you. Okay.
You want that one?
All right. Any other suggestions?
I think we're wise to cast a large net.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so if council's direction is to cast a wide net, I can definitely do that. And if there are any others that come up in the meantime that fit that criteria, then I'll also go ahead and post there as well.
Okay.
Okay, the next section here is talking about our application. I would suggest that we don't have the applicants fill out one of our normal City of Cottonwood applications for this process. I would try to make it a little more streamlined, ask for a one document submission in Word or PDF that has a cover letter, a resume, and a salary history. So that is in line with what we asked for during the city manager process, and I think it makes it easier on the applicant, but it also makes it easier on the staff reviewing it. So everything's very consistent. I think it'll make it easier on everyone in the process, and I think you'll get a better sense of who the candidate really is using this method as well.
Yep. Okay, see heads nodding. Yep.
Okay. So the next step would be the initial review of our applicants. So I would suggest that the city manager and myself are on the review committee, as well as probably the mayor and possibly one other council member. But that is one of the questions for council. How would you like that set up? Who would you like to do the initial review? Would you like to try to narrow it down to about 10 to 15? What is the number that you guys are looking for? What do you want to review as a whole body later?
I was wondering if we'd even get 10 to 15.
I was being hopeful.
Council, what are your thoughts on that? Do you want to have myself and another council member try to, well, we wouldn't screen all the applicants that come in. You would pre-screen folks that just aren't.
This would be the pre-screening process before they come to council. So You can choose to not have any council members involved in that and only see what we bring to you if you'd like, or you can have some members involved in that process before we bring it back. It's really up to what you guys would like to do.
Okay.
Well, I think there's an obvious council member that would probably be quite qualified to, if she thinks that's prudent.
And Debbie, I'll wait for you to answer. I had a question about that because historically, if someone has served on the screening committee, they then don't vote or they recuse or have not participated in the council discussion. And so I wouldn't want to have any council member waive that.
That's a good point, but I don't think we.
Mr. Mayor, we're not scoring. You don't want to double score. And so it's just a screening and there's no points given. So you would still be able to participate in the final decision.
Okay. So council, do you want the mayor and Councilmember Henry to pre-screen these and bring you no more than 10 to 15? If
Yes.
we're lucky. If we're lucky.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
The other thing is it'll allow us to move a little faster having such a small group, and we can know early on in the process, even if it's 3, if only 1 is qualified, it'll just help not have to wait for a body, for the whole body to meet, I think, to move through.
Okay. And no other changes on the other folks there, human resources, city manager. Okay, good.
Okay. The next step of the process would be requesting a writing sample from the candidates. I did not bring any sort of topic or anything before you at this point. Does council want to have a say in what that topic looks like? Would you like staff to come up with something and have the applicants respond to that? How much involvement would you like to have in this step of the process?
I hate to see us get in the way of the process.
Yeah, I think the intelligent applicant would probably read the paper and find out what's going on and write something that's relevant to what we're doing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just want to make sure it's a topic that's relevant to City of Cottonwood and not just a generic topic.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, we'll use Mr. Horton on that one probably for the writing sample, both the topic and probably reviewing.
Okay.
Okay. Next step would be the top applicants would then come to council for discussion again, and council would then narrow down the number of applicants that they'd like to see for in-person interviews. So I've set that at about 5 to 7. Obviously, that'll depend on who you guys want. It doesn't have to be 5 to 7, but we can always have that specific discussion later when you have the applicants in front of you, because it really is your purview as to how many you want to invite at that point.
Okay.
Okay. The next step, we would check references on however many you selected to go through to the in-person part of this process, unless council wants us to do that earlier in the process. So it's up to council what you would like staff to do there.
There's a cost associated with that, correct?
It would take a long time
Yeah.
to go through candidates that you might not be interested in.
Yeah. I think it's better just to do it toward the end as we narrow down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That works. Then we move on to the in-person process. I tried to structure this like we did the city manager interviews last time, where we had a 2-day process. We had some staff involved. Council, of course, gets to interview everyone and then invite their top however many candidates they would like to invite to the second day. Is that still the structure you guys would like to use for the attorney position?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. One of my questions for council was, how involved would you like our current city attorney to be throughout the process? Very involved, not very involved? Do you have specific pieces that you would like to see him in or not see him in?
It's working.
Yep.
I think he should be quite involved in the process, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, we are almost done. I just have a couple more questions for you. Would you like any other attorney to be involved in this process? Obviously, I know Councilmember Henry is an attorney. In the city manager process, we had an outside attorney actually negotiate the contract for Mr. Corbin. Would you like something similar? Would you like staff to do that? Would you like our current city attorney to do that? What does that look like in your eyes?
Thoughts on that?
I don't think it's necessary, but that's from my opinion.
I think between human resources, city manager, and our current attorney, we can probably get that nailed down.
We could always phone a friend if we needed. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
you definitely don't have to decide that piece now either.
Okay.
If something changes with any of this that we're proposing right now, staff is very flexible. I can change and do whatever you need me to do for this process.
Okay.
I did include on the very last page here the full range of the position. Usually for all of our non-contracted positions, we have a hiring range of the minimum to the midpoint. Would council like to stick with that, or would you like me to advertise for the full range? Generally, I put in our postings that we have a hiring range of minimum to midpoint, but then the full range extends to the maximum of the range. But council, it's really your discretion what you might want to hire someone in at. You don't have to stick between the minimum and the midpoint if you don't want to. I can advertise however you would like it to be advertised.
Whatever we need to do.
So my advice to council on this one is to advertise the full range, because you have the authority to hire at the full range and based on experience and qualifications. That would be my recommendation. Given the world we live in now, the higher you can advertise at, the more likely you are to attract top talent.
Okay. Does that sound good?
I would
Most
agree.
Council? Yeah, okay.
The only thing I'm hesitating about is I don't want someone that would potentially work here think that this is a small town, because its population is 12,000, whatever, and that just, whoa, to me. So,
Mayor, Councilmember Wilden, I can let you know that in the state of Arizona, with Mr. Horton's connections and mine, I think people understand that we're a full-service community, and we will be briefing people as we go along about the full-service attorney job. It's not just a couple council meetings a month. And I think it's listed in the profile about all the different stuffs we have going on, and the transit, and you name it. And we don't operate like a small city, and our city attorney does not function like a small town attorney. But so I think we'll do a good job, hopefully, of conveying that. And I can tell you that the reputation out there is we're not a small town.
And we've tried to convey that through this flyer that I printed out for you all to look at today. This has pieces of the job description in it. It has our timeline. Of course, I can always change this to what council would like, but we've tried to highlight our compensation and benefits, some facts about Cottonwood. We've tried to highlight all the departments that we have, all the different areas that an attorney would need to be working on with the city, a little bit about the community, what our ideal candidate looks like. That was vetted through both Ron and Steve as well, based on what we know of council to believe. Of course, like anything, you can change that as well. So that's actually my next piece. Did you see anything? I know you didn't have this very far ahead of time. I realized it didn't get attached, but is there anything that you want to highlight? Anything that you didn't like in the flyer?
I know, Steve, you've been involved, but is there anything that would entice you based on this?
I think, as Amanda and Ron have said, it's the reputation of the community. It's the place and the people that we are. Cottonwood has a really great reputation around the state. And I'm hoping that the pool comes from around the state. Around the Verde Valley, Yavapai County would be great, but rural Arizona. I see somebody who's doing this somewhere else, or somebody who is at a lower level but supervisory level in a larger municipality or a county on the civil side. That's the applicant pool I think you're shooting for. One metric to Councilmember Wilden's point I think that's important to emphasize is the budget that you are considering and the annual spend of the city, which is a municipal corporation, is $70 to $80 million a year. Think about a corporation that does $70 to $80 million a year worth of business and has governmental power. You're looking for general counsel for that kind of entity.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Wilden, the other thing that we'll make sure we highlight is the long tenure of our current city attorney. City attorneys in some municipalities don't last very long, and they have high turnover rates for city attorneys based on the elected body. This is a very stable, united council, and that'll go well for attorneys. They like to see that the previous city attorney has served for a long period of time versus switching every time there's a new council.
Yep. And we did include that in this flyer as well, that our attorney has had well over 20 years of experience with the city of Cottonwood. So.
Okay.
I think this is a very thorough, well put together flyer and advertisement for the position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk a whole lot about public input. I know that our attorney doesn't necessarily deal with the public all that often. Does council want the public's input at all throughout any of this process?
I feel like personally when we hire our new attorney, we could have a meet and greet for the community afterwards. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily think we need to have a
I don't think they have the background that we would have.
Okay.
I would be uncomfortable having the community trying to pick our attorney.
Okay.
The attorney is going to be responsible to us and not necessarily to the community. He or she will be representing the city and the city council, not the citizens.
Okay.
Okay. And then would council like to have somewhat of an ideal time frame of overlap between the new city attorney and Steve that we should be shooting for?
Steve, what do you think?
24 months.
Well, and a lot of that's going to depend on the successor. They may say, you know, they want the overlap, or they may feel like they just want to get their legs. And I'd recommend that largely be up to who you pick.
But you'd be willing to stick around for
yes
30 days or however long? Okay.
I want this to work.
Okay. Well, I concur. I think we'll leave it up to whoever we hire. Right. Okay.
Okay. Does council have any other concerns or anything they want to address regarding the recruitment?
Hey, you said something about what the ideal candidate looks like. I'd like to point out that we haven't discriminated in that way before.
How can you miss me if I won't go away?
I couldn't resist.
All right. No, good work. It's very thorough. It's well thought out, and I really think we're going to have good success, you know, in attracting some talent. So, thank you.
Thank you for your direction.
All right.
Yeah, good sense of humor would go a long way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll motion to pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then executive session is up next pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03.A, 3 and/or A4. The council may vote to convene in executive session to discuss a proposal regarding the construction completion of Grosseto Ranch Road from its current terminus within the vineyards at Cottonwood Residential Development to Main Street. So I would motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Holst seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're going to go into the back and we'll come back out with any discussion items. And if you're not here, when we get back, have a good evening.